With these Pro Minute video series, Dr. Klee will share some of his secrets with you on how to become a better flutist. Hello, my name is Dr. David Klee, and welcome to another Pro Minute. Today we're going to talk about improvisation on the flute. I know that horrid word. Oh my goodness, I have to play something that's not written down. I was no different when I was in junior high and high school. I had no idea how to improvise. I'd wiggle fingers, but I didn't know how anything related to music. It wasn't until I got into college that I finally started learning the true art of improvisation. But anyway, now that I'm a college teacher, I teach improv class, and I'm going to show you a system that works for me. There's a ton of ways out there to learn improv. Probably one of the best series of books out there for improvisation is a series from Jamie Aebersold, and I would wholeheartedly suggest you go to his site, get on his website link, and just see. There's tons of books, tons of videos, tons of everything. That's probably one of the best ways to go. But as far as basic improv, this is how I start students that have no background whatsoever. Let's say you have a basic piece of music and you got chord changes. So what is a chord change? A chord change is a chord symbol. Chord symbol might say just B flat. The next chord might say E flat 7. The next chord might be F minor 7. Okay, these are chord symbols. First thing you should do, you should find yourself a theory book that gives you some basic understanding of how to figure out the notes in these chords. Example, a B flat triad will be what? It'll be B flat D F. An E flat triad will be E flat G B flat. Once you know the basic triads, once you know up through the 7, then you can go to where I'm at when I start teaching basic improv. And that is, let's say you have 12-bar blues. And you have a basic progression here in 12-bar blues. What I would have my students do, I would have them just play chord tones like in quarter notes throughout the song. So the first chord may go for 2 measures, the second chord might go for a measure, 2 measures, whatever, for that particular pattern, 12-bar blues. And I would have them do, let's say the first chord is a D minor 7. So I'd have them lay 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say the next chord is a G minor 7. Then it goes back to D minor. And let's say the next chord is a 5-7, which might be an A7, right? Which would be A, C sharp, E, and G natural. So then they'll go. Then you could go back to the tonic chord, which is D minor. So. So what I'm teaching them is how to outline the basic triads of each chord, where they can kind of get around with that. So that would be like step 1. If you don't know the names of the notes in each chord, you really don't stand a chance to even begin to improv. So as a classically trained person, this is how I think is probably one of the better ways to start. And then let's say the next step would be play the scales. Well, the first one would be a D minor scale. So like. Or you could do a D blues scale. You can do something like that. But so in other words, you start out with chord tones, and then you figure out the scale. And this is where those Jamie Aebersold books really work well, because if you think your basic blues scales, a D minor 7 you play D blues, a G minor 7 you play G blues, and an A7 you would play A blues. And so then you start working out the scale work to their corresponding chords. And then eventually, I tell my students, this is like over a couple of weeks, I say, okay, mix up the chords and the scales. Something like that. Okay, and then the next step would be, I'd say, okay, let's find the third, the flat third, and the flat seventh in every chord. You're thinking, okay, what is a flat third and a flat seventh? Well, the flat third is the third scale degree of that chord. You just flat it, because in a blues scale they would flat it. So, you know, if it's a D minor triad, it would be D, F natural, there's your minor third, A, and then C natural, so flat seventh. So then you can just practice. So then you can start playing around with, you know, adding a lot of weight on the flat third and the flat seventh. Because in blues and a lot of jazz, the flat third and the flat seventh are some of the more important notes. You really lay on them a lot. So then I tell them, well, let's add a lot of flat thirds and flat sevenths in the same song. Okay, all I'm doing is playing those scales, mixing it with the arpeggios, adding a lot of weight to the flat third and the flat seventh of every chord. I think if you try that, I think you may find out really fast you can play some pretty good licks, because all I'm going to do here to demonstrate, I'm playing some flat thirds going down to the flat sevenths. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to play a little blues here, and it's working really well. So in review, you must understand what a triad is, the basic chord, the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. Okay, and then you need to understand maybe the blues scales that would correspond to each chord. And then you understand how to play the basic triads, and you can work through them, and then play the basic scales and work through them. And then eventually you mix it up. And then lastly, you add a lot of weight to the flat third and the flat seventh. And I think once you get to that point, I think we'll be ready to go to the next video, which I will give you on the next series. This is Dr. David Klee, and thank you.